In recent years, we've talked a lot about driverless cars, autonomous vehicles, and the impact they're going to have on a whole range of industries from a disruption point of view. I mean, you think about the impact they'll have on the auto insurers, for instance, the impact they'll have on the paid parking industry, the car hire companies. And yet, while certainly there's a lot to be discussed around how disruptive this technology will be, one of the things we haven't paid a lot of attention to is the ethical implications connected to driverless vehicles. So we're going to see by the mid-2020s, level 4 and level 5 automation become a reality. What that means is at level 4 automation, cars on the road need essentially no interaction from the driver. So you as the driver, you still need to be ready to engage should it be required, but at level 4 automation, the car will function on its own. Level 5 automation, which will certainly be at by the mid to late 2020s, is where the vehicle drives itself and you don't even need to be alert or aware. I mean, you can get into the car, plug in your destination and go to sleep, and your car will get you there without you being involved at all. And as we go toward this level of automation of our vehicles, the ethical implications are interesting. I mean, just to paint a scenario here, let's say driving down the road in a driverless car, level 4, level 5 automation, a dog runs out from the left and a mother walks onto the street, steps onto the road with 2 young children. Now, as a human driver, we will make an ethical decision and a moral call at that moment. As a general rule, we're going to veer for the dog. I mean, if you've got a choice of either the mother with 2 young kids or the dog, you're going to veer for the dog because that is, on balance, the more ethical, moral thing to do. Now, what happens when a piece of software needs to make those decisions in a split-second moment? And these are some of the ethical implications we need to start thinking about. In fact, recently a team of industry experts met in Germany to come up with a framework around the ethical decision-making process for driverless vehicles. And it was interesting because they had to come up with, I guess, the rules by which we would code the cars that we will be traveling in the years to come. And it was interesting, there were 3 main rules that they set up as a result of this meeting in Germany. The first rule is this: for any autonomous vehicle, the priority is to the protection of human life at all costs. So never must the value of the asset that you're in, either the car or assets around you, come into the decision. Human life and the preservation of human life is the most important thing. Now, and that means, of course, in the scenario we talked about before, the car will automatically veer for the dog. It will recognize that the dog is not as important as the human, so it'll make that decision. The first rule is that human life is most important. The second rule that they constructed for the coding of these driverless vehicles is the vehicle must make no decisions as to who to save and who not to save in a complex moral or ethical situation. There are no values calls that the software can make. It needs to be a decision about prioritizing human life, but not one life over another. It needs to be the safest course of action that, on balance, will lead to the best result. The third rule, this is an interesting one, is that all vehicles need to be fitted with surveillance systems, things like black boxes that we see in aircraft, to ensure that if there is an accident, that we can actually trace back who was involved or who was in charge of the car at that time. Now, it's going to be very interesting to see how car makers the world over look to implement these 3 rules, but it gives you some sense of what the future is going to be like. And it's not just driverless cars that carry ethical implications. Artificial intelligence across the board has some really interesting question marks around it when it comes to ethics and morals, when we start to allow our computers to make a whole lot more decisions. And as humans, we must be mindful of the world that we are entering, an era when technology and computers will become as smart as us, if not smarter. And how do we put safeguards in place to ensure that the rise of the robots and artificial intelligence doesn't mean that we lose control of the moral and ethical frameworks that underpin our society?